Do you have a service level agreements with your clients, and are those service level agreements actually signed? Today we talk about that and so much more behind the client being king. My name is Mark Bracknell. I'm the Managing Director of Theo James Recruitment, and today we welcomed on Will Wallace, the General Manager from Soil Machine Dynamics. We talk about everything regarding the importance of prioritizing the client, understanding the client's needs, and then ideally creating a productized service and a service level agreement behind those needs which both parties can agree to. Will talks about the benefits of doing this and how much as a business S&D have really accelerated over the last 12 to 18 months with their client base and retained their client base. In a world where there is so much competition for cost, this is the exact time to double down on your customer service and double down what you can do from the client. So we talk about that in detail, and actually the challenge going from a bespoke type service to a almost off-the-shelf productized service, and how beneficial that can be if can done correctly. And we'll talk about that in detail. So as I say, you're going to learn a lot from this one and so much more around productized services, around making change in your business and getting people on the journey with you, along everything else we talk about, which is manufacturing and engineering related, the future of engineering, the challenges, the opportunities, and everything else in between. I love this episode and you're going to learn so much. So please sit back, grab a coffee and watch or listen. Please just click that little like and subscribe button now. It honestly means the world to me and really helps us grow the show. So I'd be forever in your debt if you wouldn't mind doing so. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the episode. Right, a massive warm welcome today to Will Wallace, the General Manager of Soil Machine Dynamics, the second person we've had on with SMD. We had Liam not so long ago, and this is the first recorded episode of 2025. So welcome, Will. How are you doing?
Yes, I'm fine, thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, really looking forward to it, and some real specific niche for it we're going to get into today, which I can't wait. But the first question is the same question I ask everyone, which is what does it mean to you to be a leader?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Mark. For me, being a leader is I think somebody that people look up to, and they look up to that person for help, guidance, steering, and I'm very much a kind of person that wants to help people, and I want people to thrive, and I want people to achieve, what they can and make the most out of themselves. So I think being a leader as well is about identifying who the people are who work for you, and how you can develop those people, how you can improve them and make them work to their strengths. And for me as well, being a leader is showing an example. So making sure that you set an example in terms of how you behave, and I think people tend to follow because they see you in a position of that they want to follow and they want to aspire to.
Do you work? I mean, I completely agree. I think my motivation's always been trying to lead from the front, which I think in itself has its own pressures. I think because if you want to set the example, then you always feel like you've got to be bulletproof to some extent. And other people think their job is purely to delegate and hire the right people and get out of the way. It's probably a bit of both. Do you ever feel that pressure, I guess, to keep that sort of up?
It's a difficult. I think sometimes it's when the pressure's on you, it's how do you make sure that you get that pressure delegated down without and making sure that you don't put people under too much pressure, or you get what you need out of it. Sometimes you have to, depending on the person, depending on the situation, you have to take a bit of a tougher line. But I think you've got to explain things in the context. I think communication's key. I think if you can explain to people, the outcomes that you want to achieve and the reasons why you need to achieve it, I think it goes a long way. Instead of just, here's a task, get on and do it. without knowing what the wider context of that task is, it's more difficult to bring people on board. But I think if you can explain the context of what you're trying to achieve, it makes it easier. And I found that has really helped in previous situations.
Do you think your leadership style has changed throughout the years? If you look back when you first started out.
Yeah, I think it has. I think I do look at myself in terms of I'm always kind of critiquing myself. Did I make the right decisions there? Have I made the right? Have I been slightly harsh there? I do always critique myself in terms of every day is a different learning experience, and I think when you are dealing with people also have very different lives and challenges and things going on in their lives, and I think you've got to understand that. And if you can understand how somebody ticks and how they process things, and you can almost talk on their wavelength and get them to understand what you're requiring better by tuning into their world, if you like.
Do you think your style and the way you manage has been influenced by managers you've had in the past? And do any stand out to you to go, actually, some of the stuff I do?
Yeah, one of the standout things that I always remember is it's almost like the art of negotiation. I think where the thing I've learned is yourself, you would have a starting point, and the person you're talking to has a starting point. If you can understand where those starting points are, I think it's easier to reach somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
But I think the thing for me is it's understanding each other's starting point and knowing where it is, whether that be, if it's a commercial negotiation where your standpoint is commercially, I don't have to offer you something, but, clearly I'm not going to do that because I don't want to upset you.
Yeah.
But they're going to have an expectation of something that maybe you can't give them, but there's somewhere in the middle. And I think that one of the standout things for me is that negotiation piece and understanding why they're starting where they're starting from, and try and convey to them why you're starting where you're starting from.
Yeah.
And it makes it easier to come to a middle point.
So it's almost the psychology for you is the part that you find interesting.
It is, yeah, definitely, yeah, because everybody's different, and everybody's got different needs, everybody's got different ideas, viewpoints, aspirations. People are very, very different, and when you're working with people, if in order to get the best out of them, you've kind of got to tune into what makes them tick, if you like.
Yeah, there's so many theories out there that I find fascinating. I've got the book where everyone's a different color as well. I read that a while ago, and it does make sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I guess for me, I feel as though if you read literature like that, you're almost doing it, and then you're recognizing that you're doing it by reading the literature afterwards.
Yeah, no, it's fascinating. I'd like to just sort of go back briefly to, because you've had a tremendous career. SMD are an amazing business. For me, has been a standout business in the Northeast for many years, and will continue to do so with what they've got. And you've been there, what, 15 years coming up?
I think it's just clicked over the 16-year mark.
16 years, yeah. So been there a while. If you think about where you are today, did you think this is where you've been? Was manufacturing engineering, was that always the plan for you, or going back when you first started out? How do you start?
So I started my career. I was an aircraft engineer in the Royal Navy. And to be fair, being a leader was kind of forced upon us at a young age. At the age of kind of 21, I was supervising and leading people, and you kind of thrust into it at a very early age. But in terms of leadership and things, you are taught that, and you're taught the theories and everything at a very early age. And I think that give us a good grounding for how to be a leader and how to be how you're seen, and how do you get people motivated, and how do you get people to come on board with the ideas and the direction that you want to go. So I spent 12 years in the Royal Navy, and decided, to have a career change, be closer to home and things like that. And I ended up in manufacturing. It was just because I wanted to stay kind of in the kind of engineering sector. And I ended up having a role as a manufacturing engineer at BAE Systems when they were at Scotswood Road. And that really was my kind of first introduction to manufacturing, and how, building of the armored vehicles and things like that. And I felt as though when I done that, because I had the engineering background, and I had the knowledge of how things went together and how they should go together in a particular sequence of things, I found that I kind of took to it quite easily. I understood it very, very quickly. So I spent around about 6 years at BAE Systems, really learning more the manufacturing side of things, and one of the things I really that give us a good grounding was like the product management side of things.
Yeah.
How do you manage a product, and how do you and really what interested, and what I got a grasp of was if you had changes, how did you manage that change? How did you, and with it being a defense industry, it was very, very stringent. It was lots of things you had to follow, and everything was aligned to my initial military career, where everything had to be checked and double checked. It had to be right. It had to be exactly right. So that gave me a really good grounding in manufacturing, which then led to my move to my current employer, SMD, where I started life as a production engineer, building the launch and recovery systems. So I got a real good flavour with that of how things worked on the shop floor. I got exposure to clients, exposure to engineers, and I got a real good overall experience of how SMD worked, really. So that led on to various different promotions. I became a project engineer for a key client, so I was very customer focused, and it was one of our top clients. So it was going around and trying to say to people, we need to do this because it's our our number one client. We've got to react quickly on this. And it was going around, standing at people's desks, getting things working, getting things happening. And then really, after I've been at SMD, I think for around about kind of 6 years, that's when I got my first kind of direct management role. So I started managing people again. Started off quite small with a team of 3, but over the kind of years, that's grown and grown, and with my success within the service business, I've managed to progress through the different management structure, and get to kind of the GM role in services where I am today.
Yeah, but testament to you for all the hard work, and testament to the business to give you those opportunities. I think that
absolutely
they have to go hand in hand, don't they? Yeah,
yeah,
they do.
absolutely, yeah.
You mentioned the products piece, and the fact that the change and the management of change, and that's obviously something you're very passionate about. That I think it's well timed, because I think what I'm seeing now in manufacturing engineering is I'm seeing a lot of businesses pivot and look what else they can do, and look at their portfolios, look at what they're producing, and can they do something different. Managing change is never easy in a business. It's a difficult, but it's obviously something you've done for a very long time. What's your sort of mantra or sort of mindset, or I guess process you go through, but behind looking to change something like that in a business, would you say?
Yeah, I think that the thing for me is, if you are wanting to change things, there's a couple of things I look for. Is I think one, you've got to make everybody that's involved with it understand what the outcome is, what you're actually trying to achieve. Um, Naturally, people are adverse to change. They quite like doing what they do, and they don't like, deviating from that. It's just a kind of natural thing. But I think if people are aware of what the overall outcome is, it makes it easier to bring people on board and make the shift. Um, I think you haven't got to be sometimes too over ambitious. You have to know what your capabilities are and work within the capabilities. Sometimes there's frustrations, sometimes there's hurdles you have to overcome. But I think you've got to take it in bite-sized chunks, and you've got to move through it in a staged, planned process. Because if you don't, it just gets kind of lost in the day-to-day noise. And I think for change as well is you've always got to look at it like a plan, do, check, act cycle as well. Plan the change, check, do it, and then if there's any tweaks or changes needed to do it, put it back through the cycle again, just to make sure what you're doing is right. And in a complex business, a small change in one area can lead to a knock-on effect somewhere else, especially if everything's interlinked. So you've got to be really careful that there's no unintended consequences from changing things as well.
Yeah, keep you up at night, that stuff. I guess I'm also seeing a lot of businesses go through a possible stage where a lot of it might be bespoke or one-offs, and they're looking to either do higher batch work, or they're looking to sort of transition their portfolio a little bit to sort of
Yeah,
more broader products. Are you
yeah.
are you seeing that as well?
So what we're trying to do is look at, we have always traditionally built contract by contract,
Okay.
and we haven't really looked at our projects as products. So we see a massive benefit in productizing some of our our production offerings, um, because it comes a lot of benefits to that. Now, one thing with looking at productizing something is the advantages and the outcome is you want to reduce the lead times of the equipment you're offering, and you also want to try and get some efficiency and savings on it.
Yeah.
Now, if you're doing that, then you're going to have to do things like have everything done in place, and everything that goes around that product is in place. So all of the training manuals, or manufacturing record books, or the technical spec, or the drawings, or the bill of materials, everything hangs on that particular product. That needs to be stable. And the one thing you don't want to do is change, because if you, for example, have a price break because you're going to forward purchase a number of units to be able to cut down your lead time and realize the efficiencies, any change leads to extra work.
Yeah.
It leads to extra work in terms of you're going to have to start changing the manuals, the tech specs, all of these things that go with it. So you need to limit change. So if you're putting a product into the production arena, you really need to have a real sound new product introduction. And when does it start becoming a product, and when have you flushed out all of the prototype problems, if you like? And that's something we haven't really touched upon at SMD, because the prototype side comes because you're building bespoke things
Yeah. Yeah.
anyway.
Of
So if
course.
you're building products, you've got to have a different mindset as to what change means. It's got to be carefully considered and controlled, because the downstream actions are quite extensive.
Does it become easier for your business development managers to sell? Do you think as well as a
Yeah,
product?
absolutely. Yeah, of course it does. Because if you think about it, if you're offering, it's a little bit like the car configurator analogy. If you go to the garage and you want a completely bespoke
Yeah.
car,
Hmm.
they're going to say you can have it. That's no problem. But you're going to be on a 4 or 5 month waiting list for that. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. But if you want something really similar and you're prepared to compromise on X, Y, and Z, we can get you that one and it'll be ready in 2 days' time.
Yeah.
And it depends what the driver is. If you're wanting the absolute bespoke thing, then yeah, you can still have that. That's no problem. It's just that's gonna take a lot longer. But if you want something that's there available, and you're prepared to accept that a standard offering, then
Hmm.
you can have that a lot quicker. And I think that's where it'll come. My the key to this for me is if you have a product, say an ROV, that your standard offering and your standard configurator parts to that cover the widest broad
Hmm.
demand from customers. And if
Yeah.
you do that, so say if you, I don't know, you might have four different um, you know cameras on the front, but if you can limit that to try and cover the industry standard, then it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah. And I suppose in a world where automation is improving, and it's harder to find good skills. I guess that should go in hand in the sense that that challenge is alleviated a little bit by that to some
Yeah,
extent.
yeah, absolutely. Because if you do have product, it makes it easier for you to produce things like manufacturing instructions.
Yeah.
You only have to put the effort into the first set of manufacturing instructions, and then it can cover X amount of units.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're doing that bespoke, you'd end up doing a manufacturing instruction, then you'd rip that one up and start again for the next one, and
Yeah.
it just becomes so inefficient. Whereas if you're doing it for product, it's all about doing it once, produce many,
Yeah.
and that's where you get the savings in the efficiency.
Do you think to some extent as well, once you've productized your services, that it can it can help in terms of the on the client base because they're part of. Do you know what I mean? It's off the shelf. There's one-offs, and then you can
Absolutely,
replicate
yeah,
that again.
yeah, absolutely, yeah, yeah. I mean, it allows you to shrink the delivery time quite
Yeah.
rapidly, because all of the things that when you press a button on a contract and it's built to order, you're at the whim of what your longest lead times are on the parts.
Mhm.
Whereas if you push the button and you've got the supply chain charged, I mean, not necessarily that you've got things sitting on the shelf. But if your supply base know that you're going to be building, I don't know, 10 of these a year,
Yeah.
they'll gear up for that, and they might have the raw materials ready, or there's a if you can demand forecast and be able to charge your supply chain and
Yeah.
give them some kind of commitment, they can help reduce your lead times.
And I guess that the probably knock-on effect that is you can probably have your service level agreements and client relationships a lot tighter, I imagine, because
Correct.
you've got you can predict things a lot easier as well.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Especially, I mean, we're looking at even the likes of our spares.
Okay.
So if you look at our spares offering, we sell certain things many times.
Yeah.
If we can look at that and understand um, why we sell these things many times, it might be that they're part of a maintenance regime. It might be that you have to change something out every 2 years. It might be that it's a high failure part or it might be a consumable. If you can understand what usage you have of all those different types of parts,
Mhm.
start predicting what the customer demand's going to be. And
Yeah.
if you can predict the customer demand and start tying in clients to service agreements, you can then start getting the price breaks for the demand forecast of spares as well.
Yeah. How crucial would you say that service level agreement is and has been for the company then for you? Is that something that's more?
On the service agreement, the idea for me is it's about looking at your key top accounts and trying to ring fence that business to make sure you keep that business. If you're doing well, you want to keep that business. You don't want to be complacent. You want to keep that business. Now, to do that, clients expect a certain level of support and a certain level of service. And what we do is on the service agreements, we look at what level of we talk to clients, we see what their expectations are, we see what their needs are in terms of what they expect from us as a service business. From that, we can tailor a service agreement that says, for your business, you should expect this level of service. And what we'll do is we put a level of key performance indicators to make sure we're performing in terms of technical support responses, spares responses. We can look at things like incentives. So say if your account grows and you hit a target point of revenue, we can give you a rebate, a credit note, and we can give you some free engineering support. So if you are stuck, you can call up and you can get through to the out of hours emergency helpline, and you'll speak to somebody, and it'll be free of charge because you're part of the service agreement. All we ask in return from our clients is that the level of business is just in line with the service that we're offering and that they expect. And to be fair, it goes down really, really well. And I think it's for me, it's our commitment as much as anything else to say the reward for your account and your business with us is that we will provide you with this level of service, and the level of service and the commitment is written down on paper and signed to on a service agreement.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's amazing. And I imagine for you, you're managing the team as well. It's much easier to manage then because, this is what needs to be agreed. It's black and white.
Yeah,
it's a blueprint.
exactly. The expectations are set out. And the other advantages as well is because you're ring fencing that business, it is hard sometimes in a support business when you're providing technical support and things. It's often hard to see where the benefit comes from because the support and the good service you're providing often leads to an equipment sale.
Yeah.
But the two aren't really intrinsically linked.
Okay. Two compartments. Yeah.
Yeah.
Apologies for interrupting this podcast with a very quick 30-second description of my business. Theo James are an engineering and manufacturing recruitment search firm based in Durham. We specialise in contract and permanent opportunities from blue-collar, semi-skilled roles right the way up to C-suite level exec positions. If you're looking for any new additional staff or new opportunity for yourself in the industry, please contact me or the team. There'll be a specialist in your area waiting to help. I'm incredibly proud of this business and what we've built since our inception in 2015, and I would love to extend that service out to you. So thank you very much. Hope you enjoy the episode.
So if we're recording the service agreements and ring fencing the business, it makes it an easier ask for me to capacity plan for the level of service that I need to provide contractually. So that it does really work in terms of my justification for how big or small the team needs to be to deliver that on the service agreement.
Yeah. Do you think that, because I think it's a great strategy and it's an important strategy now. You look at manufacturing right now getting really hammered by the likes of China and so because people are just looking at costs, they're just looking at whatever. You can't have that if you're doing, what I mean? That this is different. This is relationship building, isn't it? It's best.
It is. It's. My view is it's about building on the value proposition.
Yes.
Value. The price and the money really shouldn't come into it. Shouldn't be an argument. If you want to negotiate on price, then some of the work scope has to come out. There's a value in what we're doing. I think clients do recognize that. If the machines that we operate on the back of vessels, if they're not working, there's a huge cost to downtime.
Yeah.
So it in a lot of cases when it comes to technical support and the support you give clients in terms of the aftermarket spares and things, sometimes price is secondary. It's about the value you give and how the speed of response and getting them what they need when they need it.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's great. I think that's it's such an impressive strategy that so many people will be able to learn from who probably not doing it to that level. And so I think that's
Yeah.
excellent. We're doing this backwards, by the way. But if anyone doesn't know, what can you explain in layman terms what the ROVs are and what SMD build? Because I think it's the most amazing factory. So it's
Yeah. So basically, SMD we have predominantly we're predominantly a subsea engineering company. We if it goes underwater, we tend to have some kind of hand in it. But predominantly we have the kind of the business lines we have are like ROVs and trenchers. So on the ROV side, we have remote operated vehicles, which generally come in kind of three different sizes, and they're all what we call work class. So they all do quite heavy duty work, intervention work, always required, usually in oil and gas work, but can also equally be used in scientific work, salvage work, wind farm work. They're almost like a Swiss Army knife of the subsea world. They can do a bit of everything. And then on the other side we have trenchers. So if you think about trenchers, if there's a trench required on the seabed, we can provide a machine to do that. Obviously, different seabed conditions call for different ways of burying the cable and making that trench. So we can go from trenching ROVs with jetting on, or you can have plows or wheel cutters, and it all depends upon where the seabed is, the seabed conditions, the hardness of the seabed, whether it's rock or whether it's silt and sand. But we can trench most seabed conditions. And the idea there is obviously it protects the cables. So we have two markets in the trenching world, which are the power cables, so inter-array cables and export cables for wind farms, and we have extensively buried most of the communications fiber optics cables across the globe. So if you think of things like Google, Meta, there's the chances are it'll be an SMD machine buried the cables. And I think in today's world, a lot of people think that the communications across the Atlantic, say, are by satellite.
Yeah.
But really, most of it's done by fiber optic cables under the sea. And you know,
Blows your mind, doesn't it?
if you wanted to go and find out, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles of cables all across the world carrying all that data. So
Amazing.
yeah, and our machines have buried quite a high percentage of those cables.
It's fascinating, and every time I'm around, I've been fascinated, and I'm passionate about the industry and how little awareness there still is in
Yeah,
schools and whatnot and stuff about, and these are businesses for me that people need to know more about, because it's unbelievable. It's cutting edge. It's exciting.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
not it's not what people. I still think people think a factory is, or do you know what I mean? It's amazing stuff.
Yeah, and as well, in terms of the 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 wind farm work that our trenching and ROVs do, we feel as though I certainly feel as though I'm contributing to the sustainability
Yeah,
and the environmental issues that everybody seems to care about these days, and you feel as though you're contributing to that as well through the work that we do, and we've buried lots and lots of power cables for lots and lots of wind farms that have all provided green energy.
100%. And we talk about values and purpose now. New young people want to be part of something, don't they? They want to be part of
Yeah,
something which has got
absolutely.
purpose
Yeah,
to
yeah.
it.
It's this net zero green energy is part of people's values. They want to be part of something that contributes towards that, and
100%.
we very much do that. So it is exciting when you think about the technologies that we've got and how we play our part in that.
Where do you see it going? Where do you see this? You look at, data, AI, and all this sort of stuff coming in.
Yeah.
Where do you see that benefiting or changing the industry you work in, would you say?
So I think there's a lot that can be learned from it, in terms of in our industry. We have people operating these machines on the back of decks and things like that
Mm.
because of the constraints of bandwidth and things like that. But now, as technology is getting better, we can have things like autonomous vehicles. We can have things like that where we have like our horizon, where the operator can sometimes be in an office somewhere, and because of the technology and everything, the latency and everything like that is now virtually you can't even really notice it.
Yeah.
And that allows for efficiency in terms of, you can have these skilled people, but they can be in the office, they can be in a 9 to 5, and also we in a generation where it's the gaming
Yeah.
generation,
Yeah.
and young people now understand joysticks and how to work things on a TV monitor, and it lends itself to that kind of generation.
Definitely.
But yeah, I definitely see that the technology that we're looking at, and the technology out there at the moment, how it's lending itself to how we can improve our systems, and make them attractive to anybody coming into the industry, and two, how we can make it attractive for how do you make things more efficient? How can you have less people on the back of a deck of a ship?
Mhm.
You might, if the guys can do the tricky parts, and you just got the guy on the vessel doing the day-to-day piloting, then that makes it a lot easier. You don't have to find
Mhm.
an expert to go on the back of 20 vessels. You might need two experts that cover 20 vessels, so
Yeah.
it makes it easier to be able to operate our systems.
Yeah. It's fascinating, isn't it? I think the whole thing's fascinating. And, you mentioned yourself there. Yes, there'll be certain roles and jobs which will be lost through automation, but you've mentioned a number of ones there which will be new jobs and just different. It's a different
Yeah,
skill set,
yeah.
isn't it?
It's
As
just
well.
basically it's a shift in where the jobs will be.
Yeah.
I don't, you're still going to need people on the back of decks who will do the maintenance and things like that. But it's about doing, the tricky maneuvers, and that can be done by an expert
Yeah.
on this. And also a lot of our clients and things, they like to see the things being done real time.
Yeah.
There's no better proof that something's being done than seeing it on a screen real time.
Yeah.
So,
100%.
yeah,
And we mentioned the skills gap briefly there. If you look at the skill set you're going to need as a business, moving forward to make all these things happen, what are S&D doing now to sort of start that process now? Is it looking for the next generation and apprenticeships or?
absolutely. So it's a kind of mix of things. I think, for me, there's SMD have always been quite dynamic in terms of the apprenticeship to shop floor to commissioning, and we have a clear kind of progression, through the production cycle, and on my team where we have field service engineers, that's a progression route onto that. But I think SMD is really exciting. I certainly feel we're on the cutting edge of technology all the time. It's different. Every day is different. There's the guys even who go out as part of the field service team. Every vessel, every system, it brings its own challenges, its own problems, its own issues, but it's different, and it's the variety that one day you could be on this vessel doing this work, and the next you could be on another vessel in a completely different part of the world doing something else. And the big thing for me is diversity in SMD. We cover a lot of different markets. Therefore, there's a lot of different clients. There's a lot of different needs of those clients. There's a lot of challenges to meet. But because there's a variety there, that often appeals to people, and also because we're in quite a technological world, we have to keep up with that.
Yeah.
And things do change, and we have to change to keep up with that because the market demands it.
And what are you finally looking forward to for the next sort of 18 months, 2 years at S&D then? What's on the
So
agenda?
what I'm looking forward to is we've seen some real good growth in the service business, and we put a lot of hard work into client relationships, understanding what the client needs, transferring that onto service agreements, trying to expand our offering, trying to make sure we're getting better, and I think with that growth comes, it's like a snowball effect. You start getting more trust from other clients. We have initiatives to grow our client base to where we have key accounts. We'll have accounts that we want to bring online and get more out of, and things like that. So we have clear strategies on how we're going to grow and how we're going to bring accounts online and make sure that we're delivering what we say we can deliver. And so that's really exciting for me, because I see a buzz in the place when we're starting to be able to deliver what we're promising we can deliver. That for me, I get a good satisfaction out of, because people want to come to work to do a really good job.
Yeah.
And if you can put the environment around them that allows them to do that with a clear set of instructions and clear set of tools and techniques and everything else that supports that, people do thrive. And I think that's what we've seen. We got in services especially, we have a real, because it's such a dynamic industry, and things happen really quickly. A lot of people have that mindset of we need to achieve this quickly. We'll get together. It is that environment that I really like, the dynamic environment. But also, what I like is, or what I'd like to see over the next coming years or 18 months, is realizing the potential. We have lots of potential, and we have some initiatives to really be able to recognize that potential, such as thinking about things like fixing prices of our spares, getting that commitment in, but knowing where to put your effort is a real key. You don't want to fix prices of everything. You only want to fix prices of the things that you sell regularly. But I think from that, if we put these initiatives in place, I think we'll see that growth exponentially really happen, and that's what I'm looking forward to. I think we're getting traction on things like service agreements, where last year I think we signed 3, and we're looking at signing even more, and really ring fencing that business and growing it. We're really using methods and techniques to try and look at how we can make sure we're offering what the clients and what they expect.
Perfect. Look, you've ended that podcast so well and summarized everything so well, and you know it's fantastic to see someone so passionate about what they do as well. You know, when you talk about change, you come alive, and I can see the passion there. And after 15 years of doing it in the business, tremendous. And look, there's so many lessons there for people, and I resonate with that so much. You know, we've been on our own journey last 12 to 18 months, all around productizing our and being partners, and I've seen the benefit from it. And I think you're absolutely right. You know, the title of this podcast is probably, client is king, but everything you're talking about there is just how you create something that for you and your client to be part of something. So essentially, it's harder for them to walk away, and they don't want to walk away, and it becomes less price.
There's for me, it's recognizing the value that you bring, and that's the service level, is the value you bring, and it's keeping that service level really, really high. And the service agreement is our commitment to the client.
100%. And I really hope people will be sat in their cars now thinking, right, you know what? We've got to go and look at all our clients. We've got no SLAs. None of them are signed. Or, you know what I mean? That's the type of stuff. And this is the reason I do podcasts like this, for those little snippets of things. Because you said it right in the middle of the podcast. One little thing can change massive things in businesses, and it's stuff like this. Because this could be £1 million project that you have one year, not next year. So perfect. It will, and it's a lovely place to end. So thank you very much, mate. I really appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Manufacturing Leads podcast. It absolutely means the world to me. Please let me know if you need any assistance. As a business, we look at providing partnerships with manufacturing engineering companies to really help their recruitment and retention. On the recruitment piece, anywhere from blue collar, semi-skilled staff, right the way up to C-suite level executive appointments, but also much more than that. We run events, so please let me know if you're interested in any of those. If you are interested indeed becoming a podcast guest, I'd be very, very keen to speak to you as well. More than happy to do so. But as a business, as I say, we look at key partnerships to really help your recruitment, your retention, your marketing, your training. We really believe in the partnership piece and being an extension of your business. We're very proud to work in this sector. I love manufacturing engineering, and my staff are just as passionate about it as I am. So thank you once again for listening. Please get in touch to talk about anything we can do to help. Look forward to speaking to you very soon. Thank you.